Rain tapped against the cafe windows like a soft melody, the kind that made people slow down and seek warmth in a cup of coffee. Inside the Blue Finch Cafe, the smell of roasted beans and vanilla syrup swirled through the air, but behind the counter stood a girl who didn't belong there. Emma adjusted the loose apron around her waist for the third time, her fingers trembling slightly. This wasn't her world. She was used to notebooks and ink-stained hands, not espresso machines and customer smiles. Her sister, Lily, the cafe's beloved and bubbly waitress, had caught a bad cold last night. Without hesitation, Emma had offered to step in, just for the day. "Just take orders, be polite, and don't forget about the man at table 3, Lily had whispered that morning, coughing between words. "He always comes in around 9. English breakfast tea, 1 teaspoon of honey. Not sugar. He's special." Now it was 9:05, and Emma spotted him. There he was, seated at the corner table by the window, with the same grace as if he owned the sunlight filtering through the glass. A tall, broad-shouldered man in a black wool coat with dark hair and a clean-shaven jawline. He looked like someone out of a business magazine, elegant, unreadable, powerful. His face was calm but watchful, and he had a folded newspaper on the table, untouched. The only thing he moved was a simple black pen in his hand, circling something on a page. Emma took a deep breath and approached, forcing her nerves into silence. "Good morning, sir," she said softly, unsure whether to smile or not. "Can I get you something?" He looked up slowly. His eyes were sharp, like they missed nothing. But they weren't cold. They carried a depth that made Emma feel exposed, as though he could see right through her clumsy front. "You're not Lily," he said, matter-of-factly. Emma nodded, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "No, I'm Emma. Lily's my sister. She's a bit under the weather today, so I'm filling in." A pause. Then the slightest nod. "Tea. English breakfast. With honey." Emma smiled politely and rushed to the back counter, silently grateful that he didn't ask for anything complicated. But her heart was still racing. "Hey, that's him," whispered Mia, the other barista, leaning over as she steamed milk. "The guy at table 3. Nobody knows his full story. But he's always there, watches everything. Big tipper, never complains. Some people say he owns property all over the city." Emma glanced back. He had now opened his paper, one hand resting on a notebook beside him. His fingers drummed softly on the table in rhythm with the music. She carefully prepared the tea, adding a single teaspoon of honey just like Lily said. No more, no less. When she returned to table 3, she placed the cup gently on a coaster. "There you go, English breakfast with honey. I hope it's just right." He picked it up and took a small sip. His expression didn't change, but she thought she noticed the faintest trace of approval. Emma turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. "Do you always speak so carefully?" he asked, setting the cup down. She looked back. "I guess I don't want to mess anything up." He nodded slowly. "You're not a waitress. At least, not usually." Emma hesitated. "No, I'm not. Well, I write. Mostly short stories and poems. Nothing professional." "Why not?" he asked. She blinked. "Why not what? Why not professional?" Emma gave a small laugh, part embarrassed and part real. "Because the world doesn't hand out dream jobs to people who scribble ideas in notebooks. I guess I never thought I had anything special to say." The man tilted his head, as though weighing her words. "I find that people who think they have nothing special to say, often say the most important things." Emma didn't respond. She didn't know how. The silence between them settled like soft snow, quiet, gentle, and unexpectedly meaningful. Then he said something that sent a quiet chill through her. "Tell me, Emma, what do you really want to do with your life?" Emma blinked at him, stunned by the question. No customer had ever asked her that, not even people she knew well. "What do I want to do with my life?" she repeated softly, mostly to herself. He nodded, his gaze calm but unwavering. "Yes, not just your job, your life." She looked down, her fingers tracing the edge of the order pad she hadn't even used. "I want to write," she finally said, almost as if confessing a secret. "Stories, poems, maybe even a novel one day. But I haven't shown my work to anyone except Lily. I mean, who would care what someone like me writes?" The man's lips curved into something between a smile and a sigh. You'd be surprised who cares, Emma. But I've found people rarely see their own value clearly. That's why someone has to notice it for them. Emma felt her throat tighten. Something about the way he spoke wasn't just polite, it was personal, like he'd been where she was once. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a slim black wallet. From it, he retrieved a small white card and placed it gently on the table between them. Emma hesitated, then picked it up. Her breath caught. Jonathan H. Wallace, founder and CEO, Wallace Hospitality Group. Blue Finch Cafe chain. Her eyes darted from the card to his face. Her voice barely left her lips. You own this cafe. He nodded once. And 26 others. Emma nearly dropped the card. But why would someone like you be sitting here like a normal customer? Jonathan leaned back, folding his hands. Because I don't like to manage only from boardrooms. My mother opened a cafe when I was a boy. It failed, but it inspired everything I built later. She always said, a good cafe doesn't just serve drinks. It listens, it watches, it changes lives in tiny ways. He smiled faintly. So I visit, I listen, I watch. Emma stared at him, still trying to process what was happening. He continued, I've seen your sister serve people with grace and joy. And today, I saw someone else, not trained, not polished, but sincere. Honest. And when I asked what you wanted, you didn't pretend or flatter. You told the truth. She didn't know whether to feel flattered or terrified. I'm not trying to impress you, she said quietly. I know, he replied. That's exactly why you did. He stood up slowly and placed his notebook back inside his coat. Before leaving, he turned to her and said, if you're serious about your writing, leave something behind for me. A story, a page, anything. I'll be back next week. And with that, he walked out into the rain, coat flapping slightly as the door swung shut behind him. Days passed. Emma kept coming by the cafe, still unsure whether she'd imagined the whole thing. But she kept thinking about what he'd said. So, one quiet morning before the cafe opened, she sat down and wrote a story. Just one page. Simple, real, raw. She folded it and tucked it into a blank envelope, writing only, for J.H. Wallace, on the front. Then she placed it in the staff drawer, hoping it would somehow reach him. She almost forgot about it, until 1 week later. Lily walked into the apartment with wide eyes. Emma, she said breathlessly, holding up a letter. This came for you, hand-delivered. Emma took it with trembling fingers. Inside was a typed message. Dear Emma, I read your story. You wrote about hope in the middle of doubt, light inside fear, and love without needing to say the word. That kind of truth is rare. We're launching a storytelling project. Something new. We'll feature writers on coffee sleeves, on menus, and on our new online literary journal. I want your story to be the first. Let's talk. There's more I'd like to offer. J.H. Wallace. Emma clutched the letter to her chest, stunned into silence. Her hands were shaking, but her heart felt steady for the first time in a long time. She wasn't just the girl who filled in for her sick sister. She was the girl who got noticed, by the right person, at the right table, on the right day. And somehow, that made all the difference.